This episode of Grounded in Maine is sponsored by ESG Review. ESG Review magazine is published quarterly in February, May, August, and November, and is available for free in print and digital formats. ESG Review is devoted to environmental, social, and governance strategies, technologies, and investments. ESGreview.net is updated every Wednesday with 8 new stories and is home to feature articles, news items, and more. Visit esgreview.net to stay informed and help us spark the collaboration and awareness needed to develop sustainable economies and communities around the world.
There's a place where there's no trouble, no more pain, no more struggle.
Grounded in Maine podcast is an open conversation about how we show up for the world. I started this podcast out of a desire to learn new ways to be sustainable because the word sustainability is big. It can be overwhelming, and I just wanted to learn, different ways to try to be part of the solution and not feel like it's too late. So I am talking to people who are doing different things and learning so much. I hope that you are too.
Hi there. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today is Sonya Parenti, and if you watch my Instagram at all, you've probably seen posts of hers, but you know her as Miss Love Tara. So if you've been watching that, you also know that I'm very excited about this. I've been waiting to get Sonya on for months now, and I'm so excited. I feel like I've hit the jackpot this year so far with all of my guests. So Sonya she works in the fashion industry, which, of course, if you know me at all, I know nothing about. I'm learning a lot about it, but I'm not a fashion person. I wear a flannel shirt and jeans all the time. And I wear thrifted clothes because I am cheap and I don't care. But Sonya does. And she has this, she just has these amazing stories. And her dad was in the fashion industry. And so she carried that on. And she worked with these big name fashion companies, and then she learned how it was really done. And she, instead of saying, "I'm gonna get out of this, I can't handle this," she said, "I'm gonna make a difference. I'm gonna fix this." And I am so inspired by that passion, and just how. She's just adorable. I seriously, she was so sweet. Before we recorded, she said, "Is this going to be on YouTube? Because I'm very camera shy." And I was like, you're beautiful. Are you serious? And have you seen me? Because I'm very goofy looking and I'm okay with this. But it's more the fact that, we're going to have a conversation. It's not going to be like you on a stage. And so then she was fine. And then she talked to me and we were totally okay. And she is just the nicest person. And she's so interesting. Oh my gosh. So I hope you guys love this. I'm going to let her tell you more of her story. You don't need to hear it from me. You hear way too much from me. But so, Sonya is amazing. I'm so excited about this. I've been reposting Miss Love Tara's posts for a very long time because she's just so knowledgeable and she just has so much to give and so much passion. So, here, I'm going to get to that, but just if you love this podcast, please feel free to rate it and review it wherever you're listening, the usual stuff. So if please share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. And if you don't love it, please let me know because I want to be able to provide value for you. And if I'm not, just, let me know how I can do that. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, if you have something that you'd like to share, I would love to talk with you. Please. I mean, I have a guest form link on my bio, or you can just send me a message and I can send that to you. Okay. Like, I'm happy to do that. And I just want to definitely check out the show notes because I've got links to everything that everyone is offering. And you can also check out YouTube because YouTube has uncut versions of everything because I do not have a video editor. So you will see all my goofy faces and you will see my beautiful, beautiful guests and their goofy faces that they're making and all the the pets and all the fun stuff. So lots of fun stuff to do, and I hope that your 2024 is off to a great start. I hope that you enjoy this episode, and thank you so much again for listening. Okay. Thank you so much for listening to Grounded in Maine today. My name is Amy Fagan. My guest today is Sonya Parenti, otherwise known on Instagram as Miss Love Tara, and you may have heard her name or seen her name because I repost a lot of her posts. And she is in the fashion world, and I'm so excited to share this message with you guys. So, Miss Sonya, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, hi Amy, and hello everyone. Yeah, very well, thank you. I'm connecting from London, and it's pretty chilly here as well. But I've heard that it's quite cold where you are as well, Amy, isn't it?
Yes. It sure
at least, yes, at least you have snow. Here we don't have snow, just freezing and a bit of rain.
Yeah, which is also really cool. It's just really like raw, right?
Yes, it is. It is. It's quite, but I mean, it is winter, so we have to just put up with it for another couple of months, don't we?
Yes, true story. But so Sonya is in, like I said, Sonya is in the fashion world, but Sonya is trying to turn things around because the fashion world has some sustainability issues.
Yes, that's perfectly
and she's done
true.
So much research.
Yeah, so basically I've been working, Amy, in the fashion industry for about 20 years now. It seems like a very big number of years, so I feel a bit old saying this. But so I started in the fashion industry as a designer and product specialist. And I've worked for many top brands in the luxury industry. So I worked with Prada, with Burberry, with Dolce & Gabbana, with Balli. And I was mainly a designer, but also looking after, the product, how to design, how to develop a product. So from the design phase all the way to the outcome of the product. So that really was a learning ground for me to understand how a product is made and, all the different processes that are involved. But yeah, as I said, initially it was in luxury design. So in luxury, sustainability is important, but it's not like, they try in luxury to do things a bit of a higher quality. So they put a lot of research into it. They talk about materials for ages, about colors, about how to make the production processes much better and much more efficient. So I came basically from that world, and then I went also to work for more high street brands. And there it's where I really got concerned because I could see, the excessive waste, the fast-paced production, the fast-paced timing, for everyone, from the designers to the factories to, to every bit of the that is involved to creating a product. So that was really, eye-opening for me. And also very stressful because, it's like, okay, design one thing, next thing. And, you have the buyers on your back always saying, okay, make it faster. And, and the pressure is felt from the designer's perspective, but also from the factory perspective. So, factories, to make things faster, they push their workers. So, the treatment of workers is not ideal. Then you don't have time to think. So brands might design so many products, and then not every product is sold. So what happens to all these products that are not sold? They end up in landfills. And so this is, that's where I actually really saw the impact of that fast fashion has on the environment. So I decided to leave a comfortable job, very comfortable job, for something a bit more meaningful, because I have two kids. We want to, when we're not here anymore, we want to leave a world where others can live into, like we have lived into, so with the comforts that we have, etc. So I said, okay, come on, let me move into this direction. And that's where I've been working in the last, let's say, 3 to 5 years. And I've been teaching professionals about sustainability in fashion, so how to design a product to make it a bit more sustainable. Then I've been working with organizations like GIZ, that it's a German governmental agency. So, and they help factories, in the global south. So let's say Pakistan, Bangladesh.
Oh, very important.
Yes, to become a bit more sustainable. So looking at how to design sustainable products, but also how to use less water, less chemicals, and all of that. So yeah, this is my background and my story. And this is where I kind of arrived up till now.
Wow. I mean, that must have been so eye-opening for you to have come from that, super, that cushy job, and, everything is so great. And then just like, oh, it's not all like this. And then feeling like something needs to be done. This is not okay.
Yes.
So thank goodness. I mean, I'm sorry that you had to see that, but thank goodness you're there and you're that passionate about it to really take that on and try to make a difference for the next generation and for this generation, hopefully. Hopefully things will change really quickly.
Yes, hopefully, because in my research, basically, I was checking, and they say Generation Z. So the Generation Z is like from, I think the age range is from 12 to 27 years old. So the younger generation now, for them, sustainability is much more important than the brand name. When we were growing up, we were like,
right.
Oh, look, Gucci, Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, and that made, fashion for us.
Right.
Instead, the younger generations are like, okay, yeah, fine, Gucci, Prada, but they kind of value sustainability over, over just a brand name. So I think that gives us hope for the future, because, they will demand a sustainable product. Mm-hmm. And this means that brands, they will have to go in that direction 100%. So hopefully, with the work we're doing in the background, this will be, the future.
I really hope so. I was just talking to someone recently, and I'm trying to remember who it was, but they were saying, this newer generation, they don't think about anything. Like, they're not concerned about anything. I'm like, I hope that's not true.
No, to be fair, you do have a point, because when you then look at the sales of these fast fashion brands, it's incredible. They're selling so many items. They're surpassing every brand, historical brand that we know. So you have, I think, like in everything, we have to, we're talking the talk, but not walking the walk 100%. So we're consumers, I think, and ourselves, we are consumers. We do understand that these things have a lot of implications, but we still need industry people, brands, just to sell us sustainable items instead, or something, just get involved seriously in sustainability. So I think, we're at a crossroad where we need governments, to help companies and say, listen, guys,
absolutely.
If you want to, for example, the European community said, if in the future you want to sell within the European community, now I don't remember the exact percentage, but like 30%, I think it is, of your product needs to come from recycled sources. So then what brands say, oh gosh, if we don't adjust our production, we won't be able to
We're not
sell
going to
in
get that
Europe.
discount. Yeah.
That's it. So in Europe anymore. So I think, between us professionals, talking about it, you making a podcast about it, brands, slowly
Yeah.
wanting to do more about it. I think hopefully we're going in the right direction. Fingers
Right.
crossed.
Right. I mean, one of the issues that I keep coming across because, fast fashion is so it's so cheap, so easy to access, is that sustainable, like healthy clothing, the well-made clothing is so expensive and it's so hard to access that everyone can't get it. And that's a real problem. So I think that, what you were saying with you were saying the German government or the European government was saying
That was the European government saying
yeah,
about recycled garments.
yeah.
Yes.
And I think that was the conversation that we were having before, that Europe is just so far beyond the US and other parts of the world.
Yes, I mean, I was surprised when you told me that. It was a very interesting fact because the US has such a big potential, etc. But maybe with the imposition of laws, it's coming more from the European community first, and hopefully we can then all work together, US and Europe,
Right.
towards having a bit more regulation for the industry.
Yeah.
Because basically one of the factors I think that changed the clothing industry so much is globalization. Before, I bet, even in your area, if you had, fashion clothing companies close by, and so if not, in your own state, maybe in a different state. So it was much easier to, to look after the production of your jumper, for example, because, you can pop to the factory, have a chat with the owner, see the workers there, make adjustments and everything. So everything was a bit more localized.
Sure.
But within the year, especially, so when I started, actually, we used a lot of factories in Europe, especially in Italy, and there was the small artisans that would help make the samples, and it was kept close, just so you knew if a factory treated their workers badly, everybody would know. But now you design in the US and you produce, let's say, in China or Bangladesh, it's very, very hard to keep an eye on what's really going on behind it.
Right.
It's really, really difficult. And I think, with 53 million tons of clothing, produced annually, it's very hard to keep an eye on everything. So I think it's nice that in the US many industries are now investing in the local market and the US market to have denim produced in the US, things, because now with machinery it's not as expensive as it used to be before. You needed the specialized people, but now with a lot of advancement in machinery, you can produce anywhere with similar costs to China, to Bangladesh, etc. But to change the whole system takes years and years. So I mean, hopefully there is already a trend for people to come back, or to have tighter production processes, and there's new technologies that helps with traceability. So for example, they're talking let's say for the leather, you can trace the leather from the cow all through to the, I mean, it's still in the process of being put
Right.
world, how you say, at a bigger scale, but there are still initiatives to trace the cotton, for example, from the crop all the way to the final t-shirt. So, and this is done with blockchain. So there's many things that are going around, and hopefully, it will
That's
get
wild.
better. Yes,
That's
yes.
that you can track cotton.
Yeah. I know. Basically, I mean, we go into it's very detailed, but it's like done with DNA. So they take a little bit of the DNA, and then with blockchain technology, don't ask me how, they
Right?
manage to crop it all the way till the finished garment. So it's so obviously new technology advancements. It's they're key. Like AI now lately happened in in high tech, and even in the fashion industry we have many things, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they will help brands to become more sustainable, and for us consumers to understand better, if we are buying sustainably or not.
Right. I didn't realize until you said that just now that there were designs that were just thrown out. That's really sad. I mean that the designers they make these designs and then they have them made and it just doesn't look the way that it did on paper, I guess.
Yes, also that's another thing, because basically us designers, you start off with these million ideas. I want it this way, that way, this cut, the other cut. But then obviously when it goes in production, because I followed the whole process, so more or less I know what happens from the design to all the way down to production. When it goes in production, it's all about cost. So, so if the design was, it had a trim that was a bit more costly, or if it had a workmanship, that gets cut off. And then from the original design, you can barely recognize what you've designed initially. But it's not always like this, I mean, depending on the brand. Yes. And then when we refer, to sustainability, like sustainability is such a big term. Sometimes I like to use, slow fashion because it's specific to the clothing industry. So I like to use the word slow fashion because it celebrates, long lasting, eco-friendly, choices and clothes. And it's the complete opposite to fast fashion, where it's cheap, trendy, and
throwaway.
throwaway and very quick, how you say, turnover of styles. And we talk a lot about mindfulness nowadays in society, on how it's important, for us, for our own health, to be mindful. And I think, you can apply that to fashion as well, design something in a mindful way. I'm designing this, I don't know, because it's made with this certain material, with this certain color. It's we don't have as many items like this in a collection. And so I think mindfulness, because it's a big thing now in Europe, everybody's talking about, we need to be mindful and be, be more with our thoughts. I think it can be,
well, and as you're saying, as a consumer, I mean, it's important to be mindful because, not only does it look good, but does it fit well? But
does it feel good as well?
Does it feel good? And does it feel good in your heart? Like, do you feel good wearing it because someone wasn't abused and someone wasn't worked too hard and someone wasn't cutting corners because they were like, being watched and not paid well, and like, there's so many points that, just having watched your posts, I'm learning about that I was not really aware of.
Yes, there's so many, so many aspects to sustainability. So, for example, if you ask me which steps can a brand take, there's, as you said, there's so many different steps. You could say, okay, for example, I think Mara Hoffman, she's a US designer, and she does these beautiful garments, but she's focusing more on the ethical side of her business. So she's like, listen, I use smaller factories or smaller partners, and ethically everybody's treated well, and so she goes into this direction. Otherwise, when people ask me from brands, what can I do to be more sustainable, even just addressing overproduction, just look at how many styles and how many colorways you're putting into the market,
Right.
and just, cut them down dramatically. Design less and design better. So then, you're not using resources. When you launch something in the market, it's really, it's really valuable because you've thought about it and you designed it really well.
Right.
Instead, some fast fashion brands, I always mention Shane. Poor Shane, it's getting all the blame. But Shane is, I'm not sure if you say Shane in the US. It's spelled Shein.
Oh, Ein. I
I
very
think maybe
vaguely
they say
heard about
Shein.
that, but I don't follow fashion like a lot of
No,
people.
well,
But
I
I
can
have,
fill you in on this. It's basically fast fashion. It historically was H&M, Zara. Those are, or Forever 21. Those are key fast fashion brands. But Shane just came in the last 10 years, and it was established in 2021. And basically they add, so they're very trendy, fashionable, they change their collections always,
seasonally, right?
literally, not daily. So for
Oh
example,
gosh.
they've done some research, and they launch 2,000 products in their stores, or I mean online and in their stores, a day. And for in specific days, so in some days, so let's say during the year, maybe there's some months that are a bit more popular. So they launch 7,000 items a day. So if we calculate for a whole year, Shane is releasing 2.5 million new products each year. So, I mean, this can never be sustainable. 2.5 million new products a year.
Wow.
So imagine their designers are so stressed because it's just ridiculous. And obviously, because there's so many items, you can imagine, the quality is, wear them once and then they end up in landfill.
Right. Oh my goodness. Wow.
So
Uh,
it's very, very difficult to kind of even envisage, really, 2.5 million new products a year. So
and on a daily basis, if they're putting new products in, what happens to the products that are being replaced?
yeah, that's a very, very good point. Very good point. And we don't really want to look into
Let's not discuss
no, I
that.
mean it's worrying. Also because most of the, let's say, 90% of the clothing, it's synthetic materials, and synthetic materials, like polyester and nylon, they are petrol based. So when we say I'm wearing plastic, let's say this is not synthetic, but if I was wearing my fleece that I have upstairs, because also there, I want to say that you don't have to avoid fast fashion completely. Fast fashion serves a purpose. But if you buy an item from fast fashion or a synthetic item, make it last 10 years, then fine, it's justified. You've invested in the item, you're going to wear it, you're going to take a lot of use out of it, and and keep it going for a while. But unfortunately, one big negative side of fast fashion is the use of materials, like as well, the polyester, and they're all petrol based, and that's bad for the environment, because then when we throw them in landfill, they break down into further chemicals that are absorbed by our soil. And then apart from that, oops, I lost my train of thought. So they release toxins. And plus, when we wear them, they damage our health. So because let's say when we do sports, and we have polyester and or nylon, clothing, and like I have nylon leggings, for the whole
Right.
stretchy bit, you
Right.
still need synthetics. There's nothing that can on the market now that it's not synthetic that can give you that stretch and that how do you
Right.
say that that durability during sports and the efficiency of textiles. And so you know, so that is so then we absorb those chemicals, and then and then it's good for our hormones, you know, cancers and all sorts, because you know it's not the chemicals just from that, it's the chemicals in our food, you know, in our clothing, in the air. So it's when all these chemicals add up, it's not good for our health. So even synthetic clothing, it's not good for our health. So, sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
No, I mean,
there's a lot to be done.
You know, if you were not in your position, Sonya, I don't know who would let us know this. Like, it's important for us to know these things. I mean, I think it's important for us to know, like, what, you know, when you're buying these cheap clothes, you know, that, and just replacing them seasonally because they're not popular anymore, like what you're actually participating in and what's, you know, what's happening. I think it's really important, and it's, you know, it's hard to hear, but it's necessary.
Yes, I think it's good. You know, we have these channels to spread the word, and obviously with your help, my help as a industry professional, but you know, even the younger generations that are, you know, all for looking into these topics, that are still not too bored about this topic. And I think there's much to do, but you know, I see also for the future, I see the future in a positive way. You know, we need, because all this focus on sustainability will breed new businesses, you know, new technologies. So for me, it's all good news for the future, and hopefully we can work together to have something positive. And we mustn't forget that we are 8 billion people on this planet, so each small steps really counts. So if from this call and this podcast, you know, your listeners can take something, you know, I know it's overwhelming, but they can, if any one of us can take one small step, it will make a very, very big difference, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we're all doing a little something, then it's all going to add up. You know, we all don't need to have, I mean, we all certainly can do big things, but
yeah,
it's not, yeah. We just need to do what we can.
yes, it's true. We don't need to, you know, we don't want to stress all the audience out or ourselves out. You know,
Right.
you just by doing little bits and being more mindful of what we buy and asking questions and saying, okay, this is a lovely product. Where has it been produced? Do you look after your workers? Even these small things, I think, you know, in my personal life, what I do, I'm like, okay, this year I didn't buy any new clothes. Then from a fashion person,
That's impressive.
quite a big thing. But I did buy used, you know. So if I like something, let's say, instead of buying new item, virgin material, etc., I go on Vinted or go on secondhand website and just buy it secondhand if I really like it, you see, instead of, because the less we buy new, the more we give the signal to brands that they're producing too much. There's too much going around. We don't need all this stuff. Where is all this stuff going to end once, you know, if we don't buy it all? And even if we buy it all, you know, at the end of it, there is no plan for it. It will go in landfill, and just a very small amount will be recycled.
Right. So how do they get that message, though? I mean, I guess it would be just in purchases and money spent,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
So,
mainly. I think, yes, because we don't realize, but we're so powerful with our spending habits. So you know, if we show, okay, I'm not going to buy that because, you know, I don't know where it comes from, or just even sending emails to local, how you say, local authorities, and understanding a bit more about the product we want to buy, and just generally, buy less and buy better. I think that's the key, as always.
Right.
As
Yeah.
always, that's the main thing. Don't, then obviously, and all these choices, have brought new business models as well. So now everybody is creating new businesses on secondhand, where to sell secondhand, websites on rental. So many, before we were a bit, a bit shy about renting garments, but
Right.
if you have a wedding this summer, why not treat yourself and rent a beautiful garment? Usually renting it's more for higher end garments, and just rent it instead of buying it.
Right.
Or, the repair market, that's another business model that's coming out from sustainability. So people that tell us, industry leaders that say, listen, we're going to lose money. It's not true. We are actually making new businesses that before did not exist.
Yeah.
So we're covering all our all our angles.
Right. Well, and I like that too, because it's also encouraging people to learn to like mend and sew and stuff like that, or it's supporting those people that have those skills, which I think is really cool. Okay, and we are picking back up, and so we had to do a free Zoom because I am having technical difficulties. We are still sort of in Mercury retrograde, and I am run by Mercury retrograde. So Sonya was talking about, how we can all be part of the change and do a little bit to make a difference. But we're going to get to what the businesses can do, what they are doing and who's doing what and what they can do to make things a little bit better.
Yes, sure. So obviously, we'd like brands, to take small steps towards sustainability as well. We'd like them to take big steps.
We sure would.
But because it's quite, sustainability, as I said, it's quite challenging. So you can look at it from the point of view of ethical, so how you're treating your workers, to, for example, addressing overproduction. So we spoke about Shane or Sheen, I'm not sure how you pronounce it in the US, to cut down, on their items, on how many items they launch into the market, so that you can reduce waste. Then obviously a key step would be to cut down your CO2 emissions. Mm-hmm. So, everybody talks about CO2 emissions. We know what they are. They come from, it's that CO2 stands for carbon dioxide, and it's a greenhouse gas that contributes massively to climate change. And for example, fashion emits a lot of CO2 because during, producing of garments, doing the transportation, because as we said, with globalization, we don't sell just locally anymore. If we produce something in China, we sell it worldwide. So you have to send it, from China, has to go with the boat, let's say to Europe, then it goes in a warehouse, then it's distributed in Germany and France. And then you have returns now, because it's so easy to return your garments if you're not happy with them. So what happens? And then you're adding up more CO2 emissions.
Right. Well, and you return your item, and then what happens to that returned item?
So we need a whole other episode for this.
That's a whole different conversation, right? But you were saying also when we talked before, Sonya, that even just so the carbon dioxide. So you were saying even just to make the items, right?
Yes,
you were saying all these items have to come from different places to even produce the product, right?
That's it.
So different materials come from different areas of the world.
So I think one of the videos I've done was kind of to trace a pair of denim jeans, how many countries are involved just to produce one pair of denim jeans. And I mean, I'm not going to go in detail, but it was, the cotton comes from China, then the cotton is picked in China, sent to Bangladesh, then it's made into the fiber. Then in Bangladesh they make the fiber, they make the final garment. Then the dyes, let's say, come from Japan. Then the thread comes from another Germany. So in a globalized world, and some things it's positive, for that we are so globalized. But on the other hand, we've lost track of, simplicity. Because, my background is specifically in designing footwear. And because my father was in the footwear industry in Italy. And so I've known the footwear industry for, let's say, I've worked in it for many years, but I know also from my father's perspective, there is a factory, let's say in Florence, and around Florence, there's the guys that makes the heels, the guy that makes the sole, because all these components are made from all different factories. So when we buy a shoe, we need to realize that it's not just coming from a machine, just spit it out, but you need the leather that is probably coming from Bangladesh, or the hides from South America, then they're tanned in Italy, then they go to finally the factory, then the lining comes from something else, the thread from somewhere else, the sole. So this throwaway culture does not fit with product, because if we put so much energy in producing a product and then we don't give it value, but I don't say it's the customer's fault, it's this way, you put too much into the market, so it loses value. There's too many, people don't appreciate what it takes to make something. So I think producing closer to home, when I say that, I mean, obviously if you have, you're like Levi's, that, you produce such huge amount of numbers. I do understand from a business perspective, you can produce some locally in the US, let's say, and then produce bigger quantities abroad, fine. But it's more, trying to find a way of keeping every bit of the puzzle under control. So, that your factory don't just throw the chemicals from the dyeing process into the Ganges River, like in India. In India now, the Ganges River, people live, they live from their river, and it's highly polluted because of the tanneries that are there, and they just, the laws are more loose than in Europe or in the US, so you don't know where things end up. And so anyhow, so I think one first step is being sure of your production process from a brand perspective, and cutting your emissions. So even just moving your productions, part of your production more closer to home, that's already going to cut your emissions. So that's good. And then obviously another point is reducing pollution and waste. So if a brand wants to do just, a small step towards sustainability, so they could say, okay, we're going to cut out harmful chemicals, and we're just going to use chemicals that are less harmful to the environment. Or you can make sure that the chemicals you're using are disposed of properly, and they don't go into waterways, etc. So that's already a big step. Then
so many options.
I know. I know. So many things to choose from.
Pick one, you guys.
I know. Just one, and just work towards that, because I think it's more the idea of starting rather than,
Right. But of course, change is hard and change is expensive.
It is.
It's also super duper important.
It is. But for example, in the US, you have one brand that it's actually doing a lot for in sustainability. That's Patagonia. Patagonia?
Yeah.
So
they make the fleece jackets out of the plastic bottles, right?
Yes, brava. So they do that, and then they kind of try to use less toxic chemicals as they can. And then they're great supporters of biodiversity and nature. Mm-hmm. So they created a scheme called 1% for the Planet, and the company donates 1% of its sales each year to environmental causes. So you see, that's another way of being a bit more sustainable. So you're saying, okay, I understand that by producing a product, I am, contributing towards pollution to the planet. So on the other hand, I'm doing this 1% for the planet to help the biodiversity. And slowly, when new innovation comes into place, let's say, also using recycled bottles, it's not the holy grail of sustainability, because basically it's annoying because it's so complex as sustainability, because if you take away used bottles, and you transform it into a filament to create a fiber, and then textile, and then clothing, you are taking away things that could have been recycled indefinitely, because you are making a t-shirt. At the end of the life of that t-shirt, just throw it away. You see what I mean? Instead, if it was stayed as a bottle, the bottle could have been recycled in a new bottle almost infinitely, not infinitely, but almost. So even there, everybody's jumping on the bottles found in the sea and recycled. But they're doing that because it's a cheap product. So basically, if you buy normal polyester,
and there are so many of them.
Yes, I know, and I know. There's people mean well, but when you go and look into it, it's actually you're doing something, but then you're messing the process of other products. And then, you always have to be careful, because I've even heard of factories in China, I don't know if it's true, that are just producing virgin plastic bottles to create recycled bottles, so I'm not sure. I don't really believe in recycled, because either you trace it very well, or there are certificates that you can ask that are official, and then that they check these things. But otherwise, for me, plastic clothing, it's, if it's for outerwear, fine, but otherwise it's something that we
close to your skin and not healthy to...
Not healthy, really. And then again, another way is supporting a living wage. That obviously we need to be mindful of that, because till recently, for example, in Bangladesh, they recently had a pay rise from $75 a month to $113 a month, which is still, quite low, and particularly with all the hours they put into the work and
better, not good.
Not good, not living wage yet, just
better,
yet.
But not good.
No, long way away from good.
But, oh man. Yeah, I mean, at least Patagonia is trying. Like, they're making efforts, yes. Which it says a lot. I mean, I have heard that plastic is not really recyclable, and that, even if it is recycled, it's like less.
Yes,
it's less strong. The plastic is less strong.
Yes, so yes. In fact, you need to find the perfect mix of virgin plastic and recycled plastic to keep the original strength, as you say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about the people that are talking crap about Patagonia, because I don't know what else you're going to do with those.
With this, I know, but I think they do, at least because they're trying and they're working in the right direction. And to be fair, they do a lot. They do a lot as a brand. Also, when they did this, the advertisement, I don't know if you saw it a few years ago, and I think the New York Times, I'm not 100% sure, where they had a whole page and a jacket as a picture of a Patagonia jacket in the ad, and they said, "Don't buy this jacket." And so I thought that was quite ballsy because because they were saying don't buy our items, but because they were promoting their repair business. So they said, guys, instead of investing in a complete new jacket, why don't you send us your old jacket, and for this amount we will repair it for you. So I think it is super cool, and I think that their heart is in the right place, and so it's good, so it's good to kind of support them. And another brand similar to Patagonia but newer, that's based here in London, actually. I'm not sure if you heard of it. It's called Pangaia, and they're very, very good as well. They started off during COVID with their hoodie. They launched a collection of tracksuits and hoodies, all in organic cotton with natural dyes. So they're very into innovation. So they came out with these puffer jackets, and the padding, it's usually either synthetic padding or it's
feathers.
Down feathers. So again, there you need to check how the birds, if they were treated well, and everything, and also it's it's best to have something else rather than feathers. And they use dried roses and dried flowers for their so I think they come up with amazing new ideas. They've done algae. They used algae in their t-shirts that then become completely biodegradable, and then food-based dyes. So it's an amazing brand to follow. But then, apart from these two that are a bit more mainstream, obviously there are brands that are working and doing stuff towards sustainability. But, I still think that there's so much that could be done and that could be learned, and hopefully for the future there'll be more and more brands though that will be working towards sustainability, and that will put sustainability at the top of their agenda, because in the fashion business at the moment it's not top of their agenda.
It needs to be a priority for sure. I mean, that's it. People just need to it keeps being said, I keep hearing it at least, like, vote with your wallet.
That's it. Yes.
Let them know with your spending where what your priorities are.
That's it. So I think that's what we can do as customers. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. We have to be positive in all this.
Yes. Well, so, and on that positive note, I mean, you were talking about Patagonia and Pangaia. Is that's the company?
Yeah,
that you're
Pangaia.
saying? Yeah. Okay. So those are really positive things. And then so on that positive note, and we can make sure to let people know what our priorities are, let the companies know. And is there anything else that we can do to keep things on the positive in the fashion world?
Yes, well, I think there is in the background, there is a lot of research and innovation that's happening. So there's many examples at the moment of small businesses that obviously need backing and investment. So hopefully going forward, even the money that's now invested mainly in petrol-based, textiles and businesses, some of the investment for some of this money will be invested in more, sustainable and sustainable material and production processes. So I have a few examples of cool innovations that are, for example, bioleather. Have you heard of bioleather made from mycelium? That's basically the
like a mushroom?
Yes, it's like the roots of fungi. So just crazy innovation. So basically, because obviously we know that too much too much leather consumption, that it's obviously linked to food, but also linked to the fashion industry. Sometimes it's linked to the deforestation of the Amazon forest. So people and businesses are coming up with new types of materials that are leather lookalike. So if I ever mention, if I ever say that cactus, if I ever call a leather cactus leather or grape skin leather, all my colleagues are not happy, because leather is just, the natural material leather. Everything else, it should be called technically a fabric leather lookalike. So of fabric leather lookalikes, there's many inventions at the moment. So as I said, the bioleather made from roots of fungi, and these are cultivated in a laboratory. And so it's amazing. So basically, with just energy, that these skins are grown, and then they're sent to be tanned to local tanneries. So similar, they undergo a similar process than the real leather, and then you can make, handbags or shoes or wallets out of this material. And for example, Stella McCartney, she has made a wonderful bag out of this material.
Of course she has.
Obviously, she's actually works a lot towards sustainability. So that's another one more in luxury. So that's great to see. And then, leather now can be made also out of cactus, out of pineapple leaves, out of grape skins, apple peels, banana stalks. So it's amazing. And I have a friend in Italy, and he's making leather out of olive cores. So basically,
like the pits.
Brava, like the pits. So he takes all the, when you make olive oil, you have all the leftovers. So you have the pits and other bits, and then they make them. So with all of them, not just the olive leather, even the cactus leather, the grape skins leather, and it's all coming out from food waste. So all this food waste is then made into a powder, and then it's mixed. Obviously, it's mixed with other materials. So what people say are like, why should we change natural leather and use this fabric that contains a bit of plastics? So the next generation, they're working on, reducing the plastic content and making the natural content. So there is no solution yet. There is for real sustainability.
Well, I mean, you're not. I guess
there are big compromises.
If people are eating the cows, then you would need to use the skin. I get that, but like if you're killing the cows for the skin to make purses, it just seems unnecessary to do that if you can just use the peels and food waste. But it also, I can see where it's a lot of effort.
Yes. Well, to be fair, so one thing.
But tell that to the cow.
That's it. The cow will eat all the orange peels and the thing. No, so just because there is a lot of misconception about natural leather. So and I'm I've been working in the leather industry and footwear and for many years, and my father in Italy, etc. So the thing is, the leather is, the cow is never bred for its leather. It's always bred for food. So until, we are, we're not all vegetarians, and I don't see this coming at us soon. those hides, if they're not used to making leather, I made a video on this with quite scary imaging. It was a friend of mine from Brazil that works in a tannery. He sent me this video and showing me where are these hides ending up if we're not using them, to make leather. So they basically dig a big hole in the ground and they just throw them all there, put some soil, and that's that. But obviously, that's, you can't put waste, in the ground, that's going to pollute the planet. You can't do that. But then on the other hand, if you want to tan a leather, there are many chemicals involved. And so that's where the leather has a bad rep, because to make leather as me and you know it, as we see our handbag, you need to treat it with chemicals. Mm-hmm. But until it was treated with chemicals, in the European community, like in Italy, there's many tanneries, in France, tanneries, Germany, tanneries. We have stringent laws that tell the tanneries, don't go and throw these chemicals out in the river. You have to dispose of them properly. You have to use chemicals that are less, painful for the environment. There's, a whole list of banned chemicals. But obviously what's happening now, the problem with leather is that many want cheap leather. And cheap leather, comes from Bangladesh, comes from India. And there, I don't want to say it's all bad, but what I'm saying is the laws are less stringent. So obviously, if you go and buy leather from Bangladesh, it will be less, you'll have less, assurances that if you buy it in Europe, and that's the reason. That's why in Europe it's more expensive than in Bangladesh, apart from the people that obviously are paid less, but it's also because they don't have big strong laws against it. So I think leather is still important for the fashion business, especially in luxury. Where I don't see leather is in fast fashion, because in fast fashion they'll just buy cheap leather. Right. It's been, God knows has it been made, and everything changes very quickly. So instead, in luxury, you keep your handbag and then you say, okay, it was such a nice handbag. I'll keep it my whole life and I'll give it to my daughter. It's also an heirloom. So this is also, I think.
Oh, that's a really good point. I did not think about that. So that it is actually sustainable to use the cowhide.
Yes, it is, depending obviously how it's been tanned, with which chemicals, where it's been tanned, but also that you need to make sure that the initial hide doesn't come from the Amazon forest where they've chopped down all the trees. You have to, this is again traceability, as we were talking about it before. You need to make sure where your stuff comes from. But I know for the consumer it's very difficult. But from a brand, I do expect that they know where their stuff comes from. This is the future. We need to know. We need to have traceability, and
well, so that could be an interesting priority that we expect, that we kind of put on the companies, just make sure that where your products are coming from. Because I'm sure that, because you witnessed that, but then, like the upper people in these companies probably have no idea where this is coming from. It just like shows up, right? Because they have people that purchase it from wherever it's cheapest.
Yes, as long as the price is good and it looks good. Now obviously, because there's a lot of pressure on the fashion industry, so all these new traceability technology, like the digital ID that you put in clothes to see where they've been, all their transaction and the various steps. So now with this technology, it's much easier. But this technology is being implemented just now. So, up until now, many buyers would buy products and they just, discuss about prices and looks. Mm-hmm. But if
Right.
the price
There's
is
so
too
much
low,
more.
somebody is paying the
Somebody's
price.
paying that. Right.
That's it. Either the planet or workers. So,
Mm.
so that's how it is, I think. But yeah, as you say, if we put pressure and we ask questions, from our perspective, then
Yeah.
things will change.
So I guess so my question earlier was, what can we do on a positive level? We can take that responsibility and just make sure to ask those questions. So
Yes,
just,
yes,
put that pressure on and ask questions of the companies, like, where is this coming from? Do you know where this is coming from? Do you
yes,
know who's
yes,
making this? Do you know that they're well taken care of? And so I think
yeah,
it's a responsibility, but I think it's important, and I think that we should know, and I think they
yes.
should know. Um,
That's it.
and so, and it does come back to, I mean, you were saying before, it's a word that keeps being thrown around a lot, is mindful, but I think it is really
Yes.
important to be thinking about stuff like that, for the consumer, for the company. Everyone needs to be more mindful of what we're consuming and what we're putting out into the world. Yeah.
That's it. Yes. So I think, yes, as you say, being mindful when we design a product, but also be mindful when we buy a product. So obviously from a consumer perspective, they might feel overwhelmed and say and ask how, how do I know if something is really sustainable?
Right.
And what I say is, just don't look for sustainability, this is a sustainable item. Just look also for certification. This is we should do a whole other podcast on certification, but there's ethical certification for workers. There's Ecotech certification for chemicals, so the usage of better chemicals, BCI certification for a better cotton initiative, so cotton that's not been sprayed with a million chemicals, or the workers were treated in a certain way.
Right.
So look for as much certification as you can. Buy less, buy better, and be mindful, as you said. Yes.
Amen
That's
to all that. My gosh. Holy moly. Sonya, holy moly. This has been so educational and so amazing and so worth the wait.
Thank
So
you for having me.
I ask everyone who comes here what the word sustainability means to them. And I know you've said it a lot. You just said the word a lot, but what does sustainability mean to you in these last few
So
minutes?
to me, it means, yes, again, doing things mindfully and, treating, basically doing things mindfully and in a sustained way. So meaning that you have to think about protecting both the environment and the people producing our clothes. And then again, for me, sustainability, it's more equivalent to slow fashion, just because it's specific to the fashion industry. So instead of cheap, trendy items, let's make quality items, let's treat everybody well, and let's buy, less and buy better. I think that's what the whole meaning of sustainability is for me. And because sustainability is used in everything, in the food industry and the clothing industry. So I think sustainability to fashion is more slow fashion. It used to be an older movement and term, but now I think it's really relevant and key for us.
It's up front and center right now. And hopefully will continue to be so. And so if people want to, because your Instagram posts are so educational and so full of passion, if people want to follow you and find you online, where can they do that?
Yes, so as you mentioned, I put a lot of energy into my Miss Love Terra account on Instagram. So there is where I post my videos. But I am also on LinkedIn, to reach out to a more people in the industry platform. So on LinkedIn, obviously as Sonya Parenti, you can find me there. And Sonya is spelled with the Y. and not with an I. So everybody always gets it wrong. Sonya, where is she? Where is she? Here I am. And then yes, and if you want to connect or learn more, yes, just Instagram or LinkedIn. Those are the two platforms I'm using at the moment.
Okay. Very cool. Sonya Parenti, thank you so much. I'm in awe of your passion and your education in your field. I'm so grateful to you for sharing what you've learned and what you're experiencing and what you're just what you're putting out.
Oh, thank you, Amy. It was a pleasure being on your podcast, and it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And
yeah.
There'll come a day, my mama told me, when I find love to have and hold me, a heart that's strong and so sincere. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? Oh, tell me, how do I get there from here? 'Cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. We'll find a way to soothe the sickness. We'll heal the hate with sweet forgiveness. Wages of war will disappear. Just tell me, how do I get there from here? I wonder, how do I get there from here? Yeah, 'cause here and now I'm so far down that mercy's bound to find me. When that state of grace has finally found me, well, there'll be music, ooh, and good friends around me, yeah, yeah. And I'll just smile through happy tears and wonder,